Good evening. I am Melvin Adams, president of Noah Webster Educational Foundation, and I'm delighted to invite and welcome all of you to our session here tonight. Tonight, our topic is going to be the role of parental engagement in education. Thanks for joining us for this important topic. Now, let me say just a word to all of our audience who are listening out. If you have a question that you'd like to submit to this panel, please text it to 877-322-NWEF. That's like 877-322 Noah Webster Educational Foundation. So hopefully that'll help you remember that. And so our panel this evening is made up of both parents and students. While our focus is the role of parents, I believe that students can provide a valuable perspective and give us great input into lots of the topics we're going to talk about. Plus, they can represent potentially millions of students out there that just wish they had a voice. Panelists, as we start tonight, why don't we start by just briefly introducing yourselves?
Hello, thank you, Melvin. My name is Sharnika Elliott. I am a mother, a wife. I love the Lord. I'm an educator, and I'm delighted to be here. I am the founder of Noah Christian Community Center Incorporated and Noah Christian Academy, named after my two deceased boys. And youth is my passion, so I'm excited to be here and to share with you all some insight from my perspective as a parent and an educator.
My name is Bella Lynch. I am a student currently at Salem High School in Salem, Virginia. I'm 14 years old, and I'm just excited to be here tonight, so thank y'all.
Hi, my name is Michelle Lynch. This is one of my daughters. I have 5 children, ranging from 14 to 2. 2 are grade school, and 2 are getting ready to go into grade school next year. I am a functional health practitioner, and my husband and I own a gym in Salem, Virginia. So I'm excited to be here.
My name is Jennifer Inman. I am a wife and mother to 4 boys. I'm an administrative assistant at Little Ospreys Early Learning Center. This is my son, Evan. He is 16 and he'll be a senior. I have a son who we just dropped off at Liberty University yesterday. I have one son, Joshua. He lives in Richmond, and another son, daughter-in-law, and 2 grandchildren in Charlotte.
Hello, my name is Evan Inman, and I am currently going to be a senior at Smith Mountain Lake Christian Academy. I'm 16, and I've been going there for 6 years.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for being with us tonight. As we get started, why don't we roll a video clip that'll maybe help us get on the same page.
Let's talk about the role of parents in education. It is significant. Parents have the unique opportunity to be their child's very first educator. They actually help to form the child's foundational concepts of reality and learning. Therefore, the parent has more potential than anyone else to profoundly influence their child's life. That influence can be shared by others, but if it is abandoned to others, the child suffers. That is why parents should think of themselves as the primary educator. Of course, children need interaction and influence from many people in order to bloom and grow. A parent will not be an expert on everything, but they should be an expert on finding the best influences and support to help their child flourish. Professional educators recognize that children learn best when they have active engagement and positive support at home. To learn more, visit NWEF.org.
All right. Well, thank you for that clip. And so let's dive right into our panel discussion tonight by talking about some current issues. We've all seen the news, lots of issues going on in our schools. There's the parents and community protests at our school board meetings. There are major policy shifts going on in our schools that impact our children. And so let's talk about that a little bit. Every parent, that's kind of on the front of their mind right now. So let's talk about that just a little bit. Let's start, first of all, from you parents. What are the most concerning issues you have as a parent with children in school? Jennifer, why don't we start with you?
Well, I think one of the things that I think myself as well as others that I converse with is the fact that schools are being mandated by the government for certain items that would be against my morals and against those things that I think should be taught or allowed in the schools. Those are mega concerns of mine as well as others that I associate with. That's where.
Okay.
I think really it's the lack of transparency within the school system. I think that there is a lack of freedom where parents can make choices for their children. Like she was saying, there's mandates across the board now, and every time that we turn on the news or we hear anything, they're getting stronger and stricter. And at what point does it stop? And I think that so many parents didn't think it was going to get to where it is now and have kind of sat by and been silent, and now I'm seeing more and more stand up and want to be more vocal with what's taking place. So I really appreciate being able to do this tonight and let parents know that now is the time. We cannot wait any longer. Now is the time to be engaged, be active with your children in the community. Because I think at the end of the day, that's where we're going to see things changing, is when it gets down to the communities getting together and rallying and being supportive of each other and what they're wanting to see take place. Okay.
I agree with both comments, especially with the transparency, because like you said, the people have been quiet for some time, and now it's like a strong voice that's coming out. And that's one of the things that I try and teach the parents that I work with, is to recognize your voice and to use your voice in the education system so that you can be heard. But it takes us all working together, as you said, rallying together as a community. My biggest concern, I have a daughter who went to my school, which is a private Christian school, from preschool to 5th grade. And when she went to public school, not that I have anything against public school, because I went to public school, but my concerns were some of the mandates, some of the things that are being set in stone academically that go against what I've taught her morally from our faith and our beliefs. And that has been my biggest concern.
So let's go a little deeper there. So as a parent, and what are you doing, and what do you say to your daughter? What's your involvement with other parents and with your schools?
First of all, my daughter, I have a daughter and I have a son. He's 8, Joshua, and I have an adopted son who's 26 now. I have conversations with them all the time. We're very open because I want them to know that I hear them, but I also want them to hear me. And my husband and I talk to them. He's more quiet and, listens more, but I'm the verbal one. But I speak with my parents as well. We want to make sure you lay a strong foundation. As the video said, you're the first educator, and I truly believe in that statement, that we as a parent, we lay the foundation for what they're going to believe, how they're going to feel, how they're going to interact with other people. And so that's crucial for them in how they grow up in their identity, how they get along with other people, how they share in perspectives. Are they going to be a leader? Are they going to be a follower? All of those things are important. So with my children, I just tell them, as a believer in God's word, I always tell them to take everything and challenge it to the truth. And that's where you get your answers. But I also want them to know that I hear you, because they're growing up in a world where there's a lot of, differences and things that I didn't experience, especially with social media. So we want to hear them as well. So we'll let them know that their voice is respected, because if we shut them, then you're going to get the opposite effect.
Absolutely. Well, that's a good point. Anything else you ladies would like to add to this?
I think having discussions, more discussions with your children, just allowing them to ask questions, so that way you guys can have that conversation. I think nowadays we see kids and parents on their phones constantly looking like this. And I think that parents and children both, I mean, my children do not have cell phones. They will not have cell phones. She knows this. But being able to put down the social media, put down the TV, and have conversations with each other about what's going on in the world. And again, check that with the truth. I tell Belle all the time, check yourself. And she knows what I mean by that, because I mean with what you know to be true, with what we have taught you.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, I'm in agreement with the ladies. Open conversation with your children is of the utmost importance, and instilling in them that no matter what, they can always come to you, whether it be school or something they've seen or heard, just to keep that communication open.
Okay. And so this applies really to all the things. I mean, the gender confusion, the race issues, all of the things that are being pushed into the system right now. What I'm hearing you all say is more conversation, right? More conversation. Put the light on it and let the truth stand. Okay, good. So to our students, so what concerns do you have? I mean, as you go to schools, now you go to a public school. I'm not supposed to do this with my hands, I'm sorry. You go to a public school, you go to a private Christian school, but look, the reality is these issues are pervading our culture, and they're pervading our schools the way, we're being bombarded with things. And so what are the issues that you guys are seeing and facing, and your friends, and what do you have any particular concerns? Bella, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things I've noticed over the past year is that you cannot go into school and just have a conversation without being shot down and told you're wrong. You can't just put your opinions out there and just get a good discussion to just talk and just figure out what you truly believe, and just throw beliefs back and forth. You just can't do that because you're told you're wrong immediately. And I think that's ridiculous. The only way you learn anything is to hear other things and hear other options, and that's no longer a choice anymore because you're sent to the principal's office. You're told by your teachers that you're wrong as soon as you say any opinion other than theirs.
That's interesting. So you're telling me that you're getting this not so much from your peers, you're getting it from teachers that are telling you you're wrong.
Both, yeah. Teachers, because students will go to the teachers and tell them, or the teachers will overhear conversations I have with students. So yeah, it's just both. It's just you get backlash from everybody.
Okay. That's part of growing up and getting in the adult world too, but that is a concern because we should be able to speak freely and have a thorough engagement of ideas. We want to listen. We also want to speak, right?
Even though going to a private school, there's still a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes, I guess you could say. And how all of them were saying that you need to be more open about how you speak and who you speak to about your problems and what you're going through, which I think that needs to be addressed as well because, like I said, there's a lot of stuff that goes on that a lot of parents and teachers don't know about that really does need to be addressed.
Okay. Well, thanks for speaking up. Let's go to another question. So this one is, I think, is a very important question. Let's see what you have to say. I know that some of you, your husbands and dads, wanted to be here and be a part of this panel, but they couldn't be because of work and other obligations. However, this panel very typically is made up of moms, okay, and of course your students. Moms are most often the frontline warriors in matters like this, serving as guides and advocates for your kids. Thank you for doing that. Seriously, thank you for doing that. But here's the question. How important is it to have fathers engaged in the issues relating to the education of your children? Let's start with the parents.
I think fathers are really important. I know having 4 boys that my husband's view of some things is quite different than mine, and oftentimes he'll put things into a different perspective. And because we have 4 boys, he's been through that boy thing, you know what I mean? And so to hear his take on certain things, that everything, but especially in relation to the education of the children, just to hear his opinion and his ability to express it to the kids in a way that's more personal than me because I'm a woman.
Are you saying your boys can understand him because he's a man? I'm sorry.
No. I think that he, because of his experience,
Sure.
he can totally relate, and they can relate as well.
I just wanted you to say it again.
You just wanted me to say it again?
Yeah. Okay, excellent. All right.
I think we've all been a part of a team, whether it's a sports team or a club of some sort, where you have a member of that team that plays a strong role. And I think that fathers are that. The different perspective is obviously a huge thing. I think right now in society, we're seeing a lot of society demasculizing men in general, where they don't want them to be the strong leaders that they're meant to be. But they play a role that I can say confidently, us women do not play that role. And I am okay with that because we play a very different yet critical role.
Yes.
So I get very uncomfortable when I see different things taking place right now in society. And again, it comes down to who's willing to stand up and, be willing to go out and take actionable steps to see change.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Mothers are those lions. We're ready to fight and advocate for our children. But I also believe that fathers play a pivotal, role in the household. They are the head of the household. God sent us to be the helpmeet. And so we're supposed to help one another. And as she mentioned, the perspective. I know with me, I'm very outspoken. I come from a family that's very opinionated. That are not afraid to have debates, but listen and respect other people. And my husband is very calm and laid back and reserved, and he just takes everything in, and then he'll say something in like one sentence, and I'm like, wow. So I truly believe that they play a strong role. They're a part of that foundation, and our children are looking at them as well to see what they're doing and what their part is and what they're saying, because we want them to respect the men of the household and of the community.
Let's talk to the young people about this. What's your thoughts about your dad and your dad's being involved in your life and particularly in your education?
Like my mom said, that there's just a different connection that my father and I have on some things that my mom don't have. Sure, I still go to my mom for some things, but my dad, there's just some things that we connect better with, him being a man and me being one. There's just stuff that we could talk about that's more personal and that we could be more open about. So having a father and our educational purposes, we could be more open in those ways as well.
Your turn.
I think really it's just that I will come home with certain issues and I will talk to my mom about it and I'll tell her what's going on and we'll discuss it and debate it, but then I go to my dad and I talk about it and he just gives me a very different outlook on it. Though they might have the same ending conclusion, he shows me a different approach because they're two different people. And I think another thing is he's having a man to look up to is like preparation for life, because as the Lord's word calls you to is to find a man to look up to and to be the leader, and to I think it's a vital role that just needs to be in your life. And so, yeah.
Okay. Let's switch gears here for a little bit. Let's talk here. This question is for our parents. Who is responsible for your kids' education? You or the school? And let's go a little deeper into that. How do you draw the line between what is your responsibility and what is the school's responsibility?
I believe it's both. I do believe parents have a strong role in their child's education. Like we said in the beginning, they are the first educators. I am a teacher and an administrator and a parent. So I see it from all, perspectives. I do believe that parents need to be involved academically, but also with the social and personal and spiritual skills that are related to their children. I believe parents need to communicate with teachers. I believe they need to know what's being taught. I feel that parents need to communicate with their child and ask them what's going on in school. And when you do that, that's how you keep that strong involvement in the education system, as we talked about before, that being transparent now, having that voice. If I'm not active and I'm not engaged and I'm clueless as to what they're learning, what they're discussing, what's happening, who your teachers are. When my daughter started going to public school, I introduced myself to the principal and to the assistant principal and to all her teachers, and I do it every year. I want them to know who I am, what our beliefs are, and I want you to share with me my daughter, and I'm going to be open to share with you as well. And I believe they have a level of respect because of that.
Mm-hmm. You ladies have anything to add?
I just think if you begin the rapport with the teachers and the administrators, that you will be respected and they will be more apt to share things with you, even from a young age, just going in and helping out in the classroom, helping out with class parties, all the way up to helping out with prom or other events, just to be there and to have that open communication with the teachers to let them know that you want to be involved. Because I think that, I won't say a majority, but there are a lot of parents that don't want to be involved or perhaps don't make the time to be involved.
Let me throw something in here as I see a lot of times our culture has broken down to the point where everything becomes adversarial. Instead of us building each other up and trying to collaborate to build good community, whether it's in our churches or in our families or in our broader communities, especially in our schools, it's kind of one side pitted against the other. And, that it takes two to tango, as we say, and it takes two to make up. And I think from that perspective, and I'm glad to hear this comment about the parental involvement and stepping forward and engaging with the administrators, engaging with teachers, because I believe this: most of the people that are out there serving in our schools, most of them want to have engagement. They want to have healthy relationships, because professional educators know this: students whose parents are actively engaged in the process, those students almost always do better. Almost always, without exception. And so I'm just kind of giving that shout out for the teachers and administrators in that side, because a lot of times, sometimes we think, the parent or the teachers are against us or whatever, and maybe that's because there's no communication, there's no relationship, and then all of a sudden, when there is a problem, we rise up and then we start making accusations or this or that, and then that creates that conflict. And I think our goal always should be around what is best for our children. And if we are carefully protecting that and engaging, collaborating with the educators who are working with them, we will have a much greater opportunity for positive results. Do you have anything you wanted to add to that?
No, I agree with you 100%. And I think what these ladies said with being present and stepping up to the plate and letting teachers know that we're here and that we want to be really active, in whatever capacity is important. But we have to remember, too, that we're all human. And I've seen things with Bella and her teachers. It seems to happen more so, I guess, as they get older. I don't know why. I haven't really experienced it with my little ones. But then again, I don't think certain topics are brought up with my 8-year-old with his teacher. But when my daughter brings up certain things with her teachers, again, immediately shut down because the teachers have a different opinion. And I think that when they learn that, oh, that's the child that has a different opinion, whether it's her parents voted that way or they think this way or whatever it may be, that it's immediately, honestly, I felt like you were a little bit targeted. And it seemed like a lot of the teachers collectively felt differently than she did, and weren't very welcoming with the conversation. And that's all that I'm really asking for, is at least allow the open conversation to take place. And at the end of the day, let's just love each other and at least agree to disagree. But we're here for my daughter to learn whatever topic it is that you're helping her with today, whether it be science or math or otherwise, and just be respectful on both ends. I tell my daughter all the time, like, I don't care what goes on, I want you to be respectful.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Excellent. All right, another question. So how would you define an engaged parent? And a subsequent question, does a family have to make a particular school choice to be engaged? So in other words, does it matter? You know, sometimes people think, oh, they're in a private school or they're in a, you know, whatever, so they're more engaged, they have to be, or they want to be, or they get to be. Does that matter at all, or is it just about the involvement and attitude of the parent wherever the child is?
I believe it matters. I taught in the second worst ranked elementary school in Roanoke, and it was eventually closed and turned into an alternative ed school. The parental engagement was needed probably more in that school, but of course it was less. You'd be lucky to get 5%, of parents involved. Having a private school, it's different because parents choose to put their children there, so they're already involved and engaged. But I believe that it doesn't matter what school you're in, you need to be involved in your child's life, whether it's a Christian school or public school, whether it's inner city, in the suburbs, because it's still building a communication system. And what I was listening to was it's a lack of a sense of community when there's the division and confrontation. And so the parental engagement is huge in that aspect. And what is parental engagement? Being healthily involved in your child's future academic, personal, social, success. That's what I feel. That you're helping them along the way. You're allowing the teachers to do their job and respecting them, but also standing there and letting them know, I'm here. I'm here to support you. We're here to work together to help, my child and their future and where they're going. Unfortunately, that doesn't always happen, but to me, that's what engagement is, to work as a healthily, relationship to get them there. But also, I do believe that it's important for both. Despite the school that you choose, you need to be involved and engaged.
So let me throw another little angle in here. So typically we see parents when children are small, they're very involved, very engaged. As they get a little older, it's like they remove themselves a little bit. And that's normal because as kids get older, they can think for themselves, do for themselves, and so forth. But sometimes engagement in active relationship gets quite distant as kids get older, and that is especially true, I think, as far as involvement in schools. As I've spoken with administrators and teachers and so forth, it's like, look, we never hear from our parents hardly at the middle and high school level. It's just like it doesn't exist unless there's a major problem, and then we hear from them. So to the parents and to the students as well, does it matter? Maybe let's start with the students. Do you need your parental involvement, engagement, support all the way up through your life at this point, or do you? And I realize you don't want your parents doting on you, type of thing. But talk to us just a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think especially in today's school systems, it's really important to know that your parents, as long as you're being respectful, that they will support you in those open conversations that you're having, that if something does occur and a teacher targets you and you get sent to the principal's office, or you get the teacher just targets you and you get a bad grade or something, that your parents are behind you, and that as long as you're doing as they raised you to be and just be respectful about it, that they will stand behind you the whole way.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you say it's important.
Yes, very much.
All right.
I also agree that it's very important. Just having your parents behind you, every step of the way, all the way, from like pre-K through 12th grade, just knowing that they're there to support you in every decision that you make, it really just boosts you to keep going, and it gives you, like, it makes you feel meaningful to the people around you, and it pushes you to keep going.
Great. So while we've got you guys talking, here's a couple questions for you, students. So tell us about your parents and what their support at school means to you. You kind of did, but let's go a little deeper. Can you give us an example of something you wanted to accomplish at school where your parents' support was important? You did or want to do or whatever.
I think for me, so this year, going into high school, I'm starting a chapter of Turning Point USA at my school. And over the summer, I've been doing a ton of work, and my mom has helped me tremendously, just letting me send out emails, helping me edit emails, and just get it all going, just to know that she's behind me. So if I ever do need her help with filling out a form or anything like that, just to know she supports me and she's there for me.
Okay, good. That's a good example. Anything come to mind?
Our parents, well, my parents, they've always pushed us to get better grades in school, and I don't know if that was like really achievement, but just have them pushing you to get better grades. My brother and basically almost all my brothers and I, we've always like walked out of each semester with really good grades, like top A's and B's, and we've always been the top of our class and everything, and just having them push us. It kind of keeps you going in school, and it helps us to help people around us to also keep going.
Okay, that's a great statement there at the end, and I want to build on that just a little bit, because lots of students don't have much support from their parents. Would you generally agree with that statement? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so do you ever have conversations with your classmates about this, and what do they have to say about need for parental involvement, or do you ever have any conversations with your peers?
One of my really good friends, he has a stepdad, and his parents aren't really there for him as like my parents would be, and so we have conversations all the time about how he wishes his parents would be there to help him do this or let him be able to do this when they're just not. So, like, to answer your question, yeah, we do have conversations, and I think at a private school, just with us being smaller, there's definitely a lot more conversations than I feel like would be at a public school, because everyone knows everyone, and they all know what's going on and what you're going through. So you kind of have a better connection with the people around you there, and a lot of word gets spread.
Mm-hmm. Bella, how about you?
Yeah, I would say coming from a public school, it's much different. There's kids who their parents are super involved. They're the class moms, and they're always there. And then you have the kids who you've never heard of their parents, you've never seen them. And when they come to school, it's like, I haven't seen my mom in a week, or she's like working. And it's just, you can definitely see the difference in the child's interactions with others, and just like standing up for their beliefs and their values, just how the shift, it's just, there's a radical difference.
Mm-hmm. So from your observations, you do see a marked difference between students and your peers who have really good, strong parental and support versus those who don't?
Yeah, it shows not only in their grades, but it also just shows, like I said, in their interactions with others and just the conversations they have.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's important, and I think that message needs to be communicated out to parents. Parents want to do the right thing, but sometimes they don't always know what that is. And hopefully your comments tonight will encourage them and help them to really refocus on their relationships and their involvement. So let's think about the person listening tonight who is not a parent. Maybe they're a grandparent, an aunt, or an uncle, or a sibling, or someone who hopes to be a parent one day. Does parental engagement have anything to do with people who don't have kids in school? And if so, what can these people do to help? This is for anybody who wants to jump in.
Well, I would say, like, in my school, we have teachers, we have aides, we have the moms, the class moms, or, like, just, like, the aunts and uncles, the grandparents that come in. And I think knowing and, like, respecting what the parents are teaching their children, but also looking out for the ones who don't have guidance and kind of just showing them not only kindness, but just showing them respect in their beliefs and just have conversations with them. It's just talk to them and figure out what they believe and just kind of instill kindness and just, like, the openness with them.
Give them value.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Give them back value, a mentor. You know, give them that mentorship to stand in the gap for where the absence may be. You know, tonight I had to be here. I needed someone to pick up Promise from cheer. My father-in-law stepped right on in. He's just not there to do that. He's there to be a part of whatever she needs him for, you know, in school. And I think it's important for the extended family to participate, but also be there for other kids. You know, I come from a family of educators, and I took in a child that I taught. So that's a prime example of being a mentor that later we started as a mentor and later became his parents. So that's so important, you know, to have someone to stand in the gap when there's an absentee, you know, parent, someone that's not there.
Great. Anyone else? Okay, let's go to the next question. So, providing the best educational opportunities for students always requires sacrifice of parents. Do you agree or disagree with that statement?
I think that comes down to mindset, really. I don't see it as a sacrifice, it's a priority. And I think it's just shifting your perspective a bit. I make sacrifices for my priorities, certainly.
Sure.
But to me, that's a good thing. And it's not something that, I think when you hear the word sacrifice, you almost think of it as like this negative thing, especially when it comes to, and it's not. It's a blessing and something that I am so proud to be able to do. So I think first and foremost, that shift in perspective. Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I just love the way you said that.
Yeah.
Good. All right, anybody want to expound on that any further? All right. So is it important to you to be able to have educational or school options for your kids? So the language we hear used a lot is school choice. So let's talk about school choice. As parents, and you've got kids, and we make choices for our kids all the time. Some of us have more possibilities to make choices because of our resources or something. Not everybody has that. But how important is it for parents to have options and viable choices for the betterment of their students?
I hate to start the conversation, but I have a lot to say about this, but I will not say a whole lot.
Dig in.
I started my school, Noah Christian Academy, because of school choice and parental choice when it comes to school. I mean, it was a childhood dream of mine, so don't let me, mistake that. But it gave me that extra push working in a school system where it was a neighborhood school. There were a lot of disparities there, and there were children who just did not belong. And I don't mean they were any better than the other, but they just did not belong in that environment. And the parents had no choice because that was where their district was. And so I feel like, they needed to have those options to remove their child and put them where they felt comfortable. And so when I started Noah Christian Academy, we believe strongly in parental choice. Even if you can't afford a Christian school, you should be able to put your child in there if you want to. I believe that it shouldn't just be for a certain economic status, because I can be maybe helping break generational curses and laying a foundation to help you build your finances to where you can, eventually afford it. It's an investment. And so I believe strongly in that. And because of that, we offer tuition assistance to lower income families. And we've had children who've come from projects who have attended our school. And it's made a huge difference in their perspective, how they see life and how they view life, because they've been awarded an opportunity that they would not be able to, normally have. So I truly believe in school choice. I want my child to attend here because of,
Good. Any other opinions? All right, let's go to the next question. So, we're going to talk about government and parental rights. So, parents have the right to hold the government accountable for its engagement in education and insist that their interests are served. Is that true or is that not true? Do you have that right?
The right as parents to make
Hold-
decisions versus the government making decisions?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
That's something that is huge right now. Everyone's battling this, and I think everybody would feel that, like that they are being forced in a corner almost. And I know me personally, like trying to just reach out to whatever parents do are like-minded to say, can we kind of band together here and have our opinions heard, because it's only going to get worse. And where is it drawn? So again, it goes back to what I was saying when we first started, that if we just sit back thinking like everything's going to be okay or other people will take care of it, it's going to keep continuing.
Yeah. And so you kind of started down this track, but how can parents do that, hold the government accountable and make sure that their wishes and desires actually get done?
Well, I think some of the things you're seeing nowadays are communities or individual school parents and citizens of the area getting together, writing the governor, writing the president, making it known that they're not going to take it, and they don't have to take it. And it's just a matter of stepping up and being involved and standing up for your children and standing up for the rights that you have as parents.
Okay, so I think that's good. Getting together, finding people like-minded, because you can't be out there all by yourself and expect to have a majority opinion. But then as you guys connect, obviously you talked about the governor, the president, and so forth, but I think at the local school board level and connecting with the school administrators' offices and saying, hey, this policy, et cetera, is not okay. But I think even before that, something that is so important is for parents to actually get informed. One thing that I think is a little dangerous sometimes is, we hear things, and Facebook and other things kind of become, synonymous with the gospel or something, and that can be really dangerous. So I think I'm just going to say a shout out to parents out there. Don't believe everything you hear or see, but dig in, find out what's really going on, force the fact that you want to see the curriculum, you want to know what's being taught. You have that right, and you should insist on it. And then where there are things that are not acceptable to you, you make that very clear, and you can even opt your child out of content that you don't want them to be in. But engagement by informing yourself and engagement by connecting with others, because that's the only way to have real impact. Anybody else want to add anything there?
Could I add to the parent and what we were just talking about just now? I was thinking, I think it's also really important for the parents to instill in the children their rights and help them know that they're allowed to exercise them in the school system. It's not just the parents standing up. The children need to go into the school and show them that they're not going to be just bossed around, and their parents aren't going to be the mommy that comes and calls the principal, that the students know their rights and they will stand up for them.
Very well said.
And can I just say too, she keeps talking about the principal's office. She's a straight A student, but she is very vocal with her beliefs, and I'm very proud of her for that. So just want to throw that out there, because she keeps saying going to the principal's office.
I was wondering if that's where her classroom was. Okay. All right, so here's another quick follow-up, and we're going to have to hurry here because we're going to run out of time. What happens when parents surrender their rights and responsibilities to the government? And how can parents take those back?
I think we covered a lot of that with talking about the open discussions, not just with teachers, not just with principals, not just with local community boards, school boards, but it's one thing to say that you feel a certain way, and we can all sit here and have discussions all night, but if we don't actually implement and take action and say, okay, tomorrow I am going to do that, I'm going to call the school board, ask how I can get involved, and take that seriously, then like I was talking about with that line, it's you won't know how bad it is until all of a sudden it blows up in your face, and then there might not be anything that you can do about it. So before it gets to that point, saying, I don't want it to get there, so I am going to take the initiative here.
I think people have become very passive, just allowing anything to pass by. And, I'll deal with it later, or, well, it's not that bad, or somebody else will say something. But, if it's something that's burning down inside of you, speak up, speak out, and allow your voice to be heard, because there's power in one. And then when you come together, as Melvin said, now we're unified. There's power in 100 of us, 1,000 of us, but somebody has to be the person. So we have to stop being so passive, because that's what we're doing, and that's why things are just getting put out there. And then we're like, oh my gosh, like, when did this happen? Well, because you got your head turned this way, or you're being passive about it. But understand that you do have a voice, and use it in a positive way. But don't turn a blind eye, and don't feel like that you can't speak, because you can. There's other people, when you speak up, you're going to realize there's so many more who agree with you.
100%. I think so many people are living in fear right now, too. And I had a parent come to me the other day, and she said just that. She said, I feel like it's just me. Like, I don't want to speak out and be on my own. I said, how many matches does it take to start a fire?
Yeah.
Just one.
Just one.
And that's very well said, because somebody has to start the conversation, and there's always a host of people out there who are just waiting for somebody to say, here's the direction, let's go. Now, I want to throw in here, too, that, we talked a little bit earlier about respect and so forth. We teach our kids respect. One of the best ways that we teach our kids respect is by modeling it ourselves. And I want to caution, sometimes I've seen meetings where parents get so upset, and justifiably so, but so upset that they lose their temper and get disrespectful and so forth. That does not really help bring resolution or solve the problems. We have to remember that at the end of the day, we are all part of a community. Wherever our children go to school, we are part of that community. And our objective is to protect our children and make our community better and stronger, and to work through the problems. So we always have to approach things from a standpoint of solving problems. Be problem solvers, not just reactionary. And so if we can go into things with that mindset, as parents connect and meet together and try to figure it out, make that central in your objectives. Because the truth is, many of the educators that you're working with, and sometimes feel they're working against you, sometimes they are, but many times there are many, many people out there that really are with you, and they are just looking for ways to solve problems with you. And I think level heads and bringing good solutions to the table will always win the day.
Yeah, and I think especially nowadays in the school, the stuff you learn, they don't teach you how to actually think. They just teach you how to listen to what they tell you and spit it right back out. They don't teach you how to have conversations and solve problems. They teach you how to just throw these statements right back out at people. And I think that's why we need the parents to show us how to do it the correct way.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I always say it's teaching you what to think, not how to think. And that's why I love having a private school, because I have so much freedom to do different things and to be able to teach our children how to think, how to have critical thinking skills. And I believe conflict resolution needs to be taught in the schools, as to what you were just speaking on.
It's great. Our last panel we had last month was on the role of instruction. Okay, because at Noah Webster Educational Foundation, there are 5 big focuses that we have: the role of instruction, the role of parents, the role of government, the role of faith and morality, and the role of facilities in education. So last month we did instruction, and we had teachers from public school, private school, homeschool, and we talked about core principles and best practices of instruction, and that was a very big focus that is absolutely essential. And too often, I'm saying all this to come back to your statement, a lot of times that happens because of regulations that are put on schools where they have to get certain test score results in order to get funding and all that kind of stuff. So instead of teaching students really how to think and learn, they're making sure that student can pass that test they know is coming, and that becomes counterproductive to real learning and really developing your minds and your creativity. So that's a whole nother topic, but it's an important one because it affects you. I'm glad you brought it up. So, Sharnika, take a moment. You have a unique perspective, having been a public school teacher prior to having your own children. Then you left public school and started a private school so you could directly oversee your children's education and help other parents as well. You now have an older daughter in public school because your school is not presently at the stage where you can give those higher courses, grades. So you function as a concerned parent, and you deal with other parents as you work with their children at school. So this is a Rubik's Cube or something here. But what perspectives can you share from your experience, both from your own inertia as a concerned parent and from observations of other parents concerned and those who don't seem so concerned?
Well, as a concerned parent, I made sure I took those concerns into creating integrated lessons and activities that we added to our curriculum. Being in the public school frustrated me because I believed it stripped me of my creativity as an educator, which is what she just was talking about. You're not able to teach the children how to think. You're teaching them to be robots. And I didn't want that in my children. I said, God, please bless me that when I have children, they can attend my school. That was a prayer of mine. Little did I know I would bury 2 children prior to that, but God still used that to push me into starting that school. I talk to a lot of parents who send their kids to our school primarily because of the individualized instruction that we're able to offer, and because they don't feel like they're being taught to a test. Also because of the moral standard that is there, that is sometimes taken away from in the public school sector now. What's right is wrong and what's wrong is right, and as she was saying, like, as soon as you say something, it's no, that's not right. I remember when I was in public school, and there was things that I spoke on as an outspoken person in regards to my faith and beliefs according to what was being taught. And I was told the same thing, and that was years ago. No, that's wrong, And so I'm seeing parents come more parents come to us. I'm praying that we will be able to have the funding to go all the way to 12th grade so those children don't have to leave, because that's the big thing. Parents are like, I don't want my children to leave you, because what's going to happen once they get into this open world? And we don't want to block them off from the world, because we are a part of this world. And, as Christians and believers, we want to evangelize. So we have to make sure that we see what's going on. Otherwise, they won't know how to handle the world. But at the same time, what are the influences that are put upon them? And what are the struggles that they have to go through? Like, even when you were mentioning the transgender, I've had multiple conversations with that as well. That's a huge, huge, huge topic for parents because they're concerned about that. based off of their own beliefs. So I'm trying to teach the parents as well that we have to remember that we live in an open world, but we have to learn how to look at someone else's perspective and see their life and where they're coming from. And that will help us to adjust, but to not accept, if that makes sense, to not lose our voice, but to still be, proactive and speak your truth, but at the same time with an understanding that my truth is different than theirs because they're coming from this situation and I'm coming from that one. And I see that's the biggest concern. Parents don't want their kids to leave us because of all of the other, things that they're going to be exposed to, and the academics, the structure of it, the content of it, just the whole everything.
Well, thank you for sharing that. We're just about out of time here. I have just a couple quick questions I want to ask. First, a question to our students here. For students who are listening and wish their parents were more engaged, talk to the students. Where can they start? What would you tell a peer that wishes their parent was more involved? What do you have to say to them?
I think we've kind of covered it throughout this whole discussion, is just be more open, and specifically just go straight up to your parents and be like, hey, I need you to help me get through school, and by doing that, I need you to be there for me and back me up and help out in the school and be involved. So just going up to them and being personal and straight to the point with them, I think that could help.
Mm-hmm. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I would just say get started. Just go home, have conversations, start talking to your parents about your beliefs and their beliefs, and just open that channel, be vulnerable with them so they know how you're feeling and they can start getting involved in what you would like them to.
Mm-hmm. And as a parent of 6 myself, I would say most parents would welcome that conversation. Most parents, if it's not happening because they're afraid they don't want to lean into their kid too hard or something like that. In reality, a lot of times the kids want us to lean into them. But the young people can, like you said, talk to parents, have the conversation, and let's just have a reboot on those relationships. I think that's really, really important. Okay, and our final question here. So parenting is a huge job, and it can be hard. We are encouraging parents to do more to get involved. What can you say to the stressed out parents out there who are doing their very best to raise good kids and be involved in their lives, but the idea of doing more, especially in their education, is just completely overwhelming? Just some quick responses.
I say this all the time, is that you have your children for such a short period of time. It goes by like that. And that we need to be as involved and proactive in their lives and teach them what we believe, why we believe, and so that they come to their own personal relationship with the Lord and their own sense of self. And the time is so short. And I remember the last year or so just taking the kids to sports. You'd work all day and drive all night and get home late. And I would just remind myself, it's only for a short time. It's only for a short time. So just grab it, because it's gone so fast.
Great advice. All right. Anything else anybody wants to add real quick?
I would say, too, that I know that this was a lot about school and education, but you have a very critical role in your child's life outside of school as well. So what they listen to, what they watch, the friends that they hang out with. I know parents of who she hangs out with. I know their beliefs. I know the children, because the children have their own web of friends and the influences that plays. So just be aware of everything that your child is doing, what they're watching, because if you are not influencing your child, other people are. Yeah. Whether it's on the TV, radio, teachers, friends, be aware of that.
Well said.
I concur with both, and I have this quote that I read, and it said, parenting is the easiest thing in the world to have an opinion about, but the hardest thing in the world to do. So for parents, don't beat yourself up. Seek help from other people who may be able to be that example for you, like individuals like ourselves, but make your child a priority.
Great comments, great advice. Thank you all for all of you here on the panel tonight. Really grateful for your participation. Thanks to all of you who are viewing, and especially to our parents and our students out there. Listen, these are great days, great opportunities. It's a blessing to have an opportunity to be a part of developing our children and working in community to make them all that they can be. And so, look, don't lose heart. Be strong. Be courageous. Get out there. Represent your children. Stand up for them. Support your schools as much as you can where they're right, and when they're wrong, resist. And just do it not out of anger, but do it for your kids, and do it in a way that brings good solutions. So we'd love to hear from you. If you're watching tonight, or you want to contact us, please leave a comment, some feedback on the Facebook if you're watching it live tonight. Our website is NWEF, like Noah Webster Educational Foundation, NWEF.org. You can go there and sign up for updates and news and so you know about other events we have coming up that you can follow. Perhaps you'd like to help support our work as well. We got an awful lot going on, and if you want to support us, you can go to the donate button and click that. We thank you for any support that you may want to give. Our next roundtable discussion will take place on Thursday, September 16 at 7 p.m. That's Thursday, September 16 at 7 p.m. And the topic will be the role of government in education. The role of government in education. So we're going to be working on all of these big things. So again, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have a wonderful evening.